Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we have for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak's upcoming release on Xbox and PlayStation consoles, as brand new features are being added to this release that simply are not available currently on the Nintendo Switch version side of things, and even some that are going to be retroactively added to the PC Steam side of things, as the Windows version will also be getting some new tweaks that obviously will be making their way retroactively to the Steam build as well. So there's about 8 brand new features that they have featured directly on the website. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below, since they basically went ahead and provided a brand new blog update, and the page has also been fully updated with a bunch of brand new features. Now, of course, these are all going to be available for both base Monster Hunter Rise when it launches on January 20th of next year, but more importantly, they will also be expanded upon as Sunbreak's expansion is set to drop later in 2023, somewhere around spring, nebulous spring. We don't necessarily have any details for that. Someone did ask me how much this is going to cost in the comments in the last video that I put out, where I spoke about the fact that they are not going to be providing us with cross saves and cross play, and this will be a $40 release. So if you have just a base PS4 or a PS5, you want it for $40, that is what it's going to cost you. There will be no physical release as of right now. We're waiting on some details. Maybe an Asian version will have a physical release, but we don't necessarily know. The same thing can also apply for Xbox One, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series X versions of the game. They will be $40. There will be a $50 deluxe version as well. And on Windows, this will be also a $40 to $50 release with the deluxe version included. But keep in mind that Xbox players are getting it on GamePass, so if you're already subscribed, you should be good to go. So first and foremost, they do tout that a 4K resolution 60 frames per second version will be available on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. They don't necessarily confirm as Xbox Series S will be supporting 4K 60s. Presumably, that version will have low resolutions and it will not necessarily go as high. They also confirmed that as well as offering high frame rates at 4K resolution, you can also enjoy the game at a blistering 120 frames per second at 1080p for a smoother, more fluid hunting experience on monitors that support it. So do keep in mind that this was something that I was kind of hoping for an 120 FPS version if you are used to playing the Nintendo Switch version of the game, which already runs somewhere around 900p with some dynamic resolution changes. So usually, let's say 860p to 900, you're running at 30 FPS. I much prefer this game to play this game at about 120. So if it's going to run at 1080p with dynamic resolution on a big screen TV or 4K TV or our monitor or something like that, I much rather go with that than a 4K 60. So for players like me, I think this is going to be a much better option for you to be able to play with. Obviously, also they're mentioning that the filters that were introduced for the PC version side of things on Steam are now going to be making their way into the Series X, Series S, Xbox One, Windows, PS5, and PS4 versions of the game. They mentioned that this feature lets you enjoy the game with a different way than usual by applying filters on the entire screen that you can choose from: black and white, sepia, Japanese style, and warring land style. You can pick the cinematic filter that recreates the sounds of all movies as well. This was a feature that was only ever available in the Steam side of things, but now is going to be making its way to pretty much every brand new version of the game, of course, excluding the Nintendo Switch, which simply just doesn't have any of these filters. They also mentioned that on the Windows side of things, they're going to be adding optimized keyboard and mouse controls. In addition to regular gamepad controls, you can also use the keyboard and mouse. You can customize a variety of shortcuts and keyboards as well. So this is something that I believe is already available on the Steam side of things, but this is also going to be making its way to the Windows side of things. None of the console versions will have keyboard or mouse controls as of right now. Maybe they will be added retroactively, but we don't necessarily know. Another great feature that is making its way to the Xbox Series X, Series S, Xbox One, Windows, PS5, and PS4 versions of the games is the fact that voice chat will be available. I believe voice chat is available on the Steam side of things. So of course, this is just more confirmation that what we are getting on consoles and on Windows is indeed the Steam build of this title. Use the voice chat feature to talk to other players in the same lobby to coordinate more efficiently and strategically while on the hunt. Remember that on the Nintendo Switch, you do not have voice chat, and even if you did, you might probably just end up having to use that weird adapter thing through the phone or whatever. So, regardless, it's just, not available there. But now you're going to have that. And I believe, with the fact that it's going to be available on Game Pass and stuff like that, I think a lot of people are probably going to gravitate to that version specifically, since, voice chat is kind of ubiquitous with, Xbox gaming online, period. Another one of the features that they're mentioning is optimizations through the graphics options. They mentioned that on Windows, you're going to be able to have advanced graphical settings to change more detailed settings and optimize the game that best suits your personal environment. So, of course, this is no different than what we already have on the Steam side of things. You can certainly tweak the game around quite a lot. And one of the more recent changes that we got to see on the Steam side of things was the newest DLSS that was added in. So not only do you have already dynamic resolutions being added in, but DLSS also is going to be tweaking that as well even further. So while the game already runs and looks relatively good on Steam, the Windows version is going to be matching that as well. Another one of the touted features that they had showcased in the trailer itself was 3D audio support. This is going to be available on the Xbox Series S and X versions of the game, Windows and PlayStation 5. So last gen consoles, Xbox One and PS4, are totally excluded from this version. Essentially, they mentioned that you connect to ported devices to surround yourself with spatial sound that puts you in the thick of the action. I mentioned yesterday that those PlayStation 3D helmets or headsets or something are like relatively popular or whatever. I try to use one. I didn't necessarily see the difference, hear the difference, but I'm sure people, they're popular for a reason, so people get to hear them. I didn't necessarily find a lot of use with them, but they're popular nonetheless. So those features are coming over as well. One PlayStation 5 exclusive feature is adaptive trigger support. They're mentioning that feel the pullback of the triggers as a gunner or the impact of blocking the shield through adaptive triggers. Essentially, adaptive triggers are like haptic feedback that is kind of gone haywired. I'm not necessarily a big fan of it. I have it on my PS5 in some games. I think God of War Ragnarok probably used it the best out of all the games that I've played. Astrobots, the tech demo game that came with it, that was a pretty decent one. But for the most part, I have not necessarily been too blown away by this whole adaptive trigger situation. So, it is what it is. But again, I see a lot of people just turn it off completely. So I guess I'm not the only one who isn't a big fan of it. The last major feature that they are touting specifically for this upcoming release is on Windows. And they're mentioning that ultra wide display support will be available. In addition to the basic 16:9 screen ratio, the game can also be optimized for 21:9 ultra wide display to experience higher levels of immersion. So you're going to be able to essentially have ultra wide display only on Windows and not on any of the upcoming console versions of the game. So that's about all the major features that they are touting. Once again, no crossplay, no cross saves. That is a massive bummer. I made a separate video about that. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below for that. I basically just think that is just a deal killer for pretty much everyone who already plays on Switch and everyone who already plays on Steam or PC. They are not interested in starting all over again. Even if you're giving me the game on Game Pass, which I'm already a subscriber of, but I have zero interest in starting all over again, regardless of what new features you add. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.